Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric. It's the end of the month, so you know what that means. It's time for the monthly emulation news roundup, because somehow the entirety of the month of March is behind us, or very close depending on when I show you this video, and we had some absolutely amazing updates in the emulation scene in the month of March. And honestly, I'm glad to see March go away. The weather's been terrible. It's either been 75 and sunny or 34 and raining in Chicago, and it honestly cannot decide what it wants. But the one consistent thing has been that emulation keeps getting better every single month, and we actually got some big improvements to some modern emulators as well as some more on the retro front. Before you get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But right off the top, it was a lot of fun to see Shad PS4 get a new release, and some other PlayStation 4 games are running very close to what they would run like on real PlayStation 4 hardware. And it's absolutely wild to me, even though I know how these are made, that we can actually do stuff like emulate quote-unquote modern systems. Sure, we're at the PlayStation 5 at this point in time, but PS4 isn't really that much different than a PlayStation 5 in its architecture. And the fact that emulation even exists, let alone can get into games and run some games close to full speed with almost all the graphical effects, is nothing short of amazing. And it's one of those things, I wouldn't sit down at Shad PS4 and try to play a game from start to finish right now. You'd have a lot better luck playing on a real PlayStation 4 console, but it's one of those things I feel like in 3 to 5 years, you're going to be able to sit down and play a decent amount of the PlayStation 4 library on emulation, the same way we can play PlayStation 3 on RPCS3. Because it's one of those things, we talk a lot about retro gaming on the channel and why retro gaming is making a comeback, but getting modern emulators is just as amazing, and don't forget, this hardware will be retro at some point in time. Now moving into The Last Guardian here, the last time I took a look at Shad PS4, this game had massive graphical corruption and maybe ran at about 3 to 4 frames per second, sometimes getting in the seconds per frame category. And that isn't a knock on Shad PS4, the last time I took a look at it, it was very early in its development, but now the fact is, this looks like The Last Guardian. It's getting really close to The Last Guardian's frame rate, which is to say, not great even on real hardware, but it's one of those things. Just seeing this actually draw graphics and be playable to the point in time where you can recognize it is a PlayStation 4 game, in and of itself is a massive leap in the overall ability for Shad PS4 to actually emulate PlayStation 4 games. And I think again, in the next couple of years, you're going to see stuff like this being near to 100% perfect and maybe even get a better frame rate than real PS4 hardware. Because it's one of those things, whether it's Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, or The Last Guardian, none of the games made by this team ever ran at the most amazing frame rates ever. So I would love to see a future in which you had the ability to run this game in Shad PS4 at higher resolutions with even better frame rates. One of those things we'll have to wait and see, but PlayStation 4 definitely got a big upgrade in the month of March. Now moving over to Switch emulation, Eden also got a big upgrade, and it definitely is an amazing way to play Switch games, because it's one of those things. I have a massive Switch collection, I have a Switch 2 as well, but if I play some original Switch games, unless I'm just taking my Switch with me on the road, I always go to emulation to play at 4K on my 4K OLED in my game room, just because it runs faster, looks better, and I already own the games and the hardware. And it's one of those things, sure, Nintendo might be trying to always fight Switch emulation, but like the Hydra, every time they set down one actual emulator, like 3 more pop up. And Eden is definitely, in my opinion, leading the charge of that new kind of roster of Switch emulators. If you haven't played around with Switch emulation yet, it really isn't the hardest thing in the world to set up, and it absolutely is worth it. Because it's one of those things, these games under emulation just play better than they do on real Switch hardware. And then you don't have to worry about modifying any of your systems to play stuff like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe CTGP or Custom Track Grand Prix here. You can just sit down on your PC and play them, do multiplayer, and have a better overall experience. And that really is one of those interesting things. Sure, emulation of quote-unquote modern systems is a little bit one of those things that people give a side-eye at, but it is, in my opinion, perfectly permissible so long as you own the hardware in the games. So if I'm going to play something like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I'm just going straight to Switch emulation because I get a better experience of it and a lot easier time of actually playing some of these ROM hacks for some of the best Mario Kart games out there. Like I said in a previous video, as much fun as I had with Mario Kart World, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe I still think is the better game, and getting these versions of games that have so many more tracks, just a 10 out of 10. Or something like Super Mario 3D World with Bowser's Fury, absolutely a fun time to play on Switch, and again, you just get a better experience here when you're on your PC, so long as you have specs that'll be able to run these games with enhancements. Really leave me a comment down below and you tell me if you've been playing around with Switch emulation at all or not. I would be curious because, again, I talk a lot about retro gaming on the channel, but when it comes to emulation updates, everything is fair game here because I love emulation. Let's do a soundtrack sample so you can hear how good Switch emulation is with Eden, and I'll be right back with more news. I mean, honestly, it absolutely impresses me just how good Switch emulation is, especially with Eden. The sound is great, the improvements are great, and it really is the de facto best way to play some of these games because you just get better performance out of them, which is a really weird thing when software emulation can be a handheld that still tens of millions of people play every single day, but that is the reality of the situation. That's one of those things. I will definitely update more Switch emulation videos if you guys are interested in them, because it's something I just wanted to talk about on the channel briefly, and a lot of people did enjoy that. So if you want to see more Switch emulation stuff, leave me a comment down below and you tell me, and then maybe I'll make it for you. Now, moving back a couple generations and moving over to Dolphin, it had a very big meaty update in the month of March as well. Technically in February, all of the different Triforce games came to Dolphin, but in March they entered into the mainline branch because it was basically a nightly build that added available. And if you haven't played any of the Dolphin Triforce games yet, absolutely some amazing stuff here. And if you're not aware by this point in time, I feel like most of you are, the Triforce board was a GameCube that was also designed in conjunction with Sega and Namco, bringing over the GD-ROM and some I/O as well. So it's basically a stock GameCube inside of an arcade cabinet with a ton of different add-on boards. And the best part is all of the Dolphin devs release their monthly progress report on every single release, so you can go through every single line item and find out what happened, because it isn't just Triforce, but it's also a bunch of other improvements and bug fixes to games that have been having issues for years now. Because as good as Dolphin is, and I think it is 10 out of 10 every day of the week and twice on Sunday, there's definitely still a few bugs in some games and definitely still some performance issues across Dolphin in some of the more demanding emulation releases. That's one of those things. I really love that they categorize every single improvement. So not only do you know what games have seen improvements, but you get a full understanding of all the technology underneath that actual improvement that you receive in the newest build of Dolphin. It's one of those things. Some emulation sites basically just say, hey, a new version's out, go have fun with it. And that's totally fine as well, but Dolphin devs will go and basically explain every single thing that got fixed, why it was a problem in the first place, and how they introduced that fix into the emulation. Some stuff like the Factor of 5 Star Wars games are going to see better performance here. It might not be perfect, but compared to where it came from, it is an absolutely massive improvement. And that really is the fun thing. You're going to see a lot more of this in the future. Dolphin keeps expanding, and it is one of the best emulators out there, but anything can be made better, and the Dolphin devs are 100% dedicated to doing that. So definitely, if you haven't updated your Dolphin build in a while, or definitely in the last month or so, go ahead and update it. You're going to get all the Triforce games, all of the improvements that came to Dolphin emulation this month, and a lot better performance in the Star Wars games from Factor 5. And that definitely is going to be something that a lot of people want. But jumping forward a generation and moving to a different console manufacturer, our PS3 or PlayStation 3 emulation got another meaty update in the month of March as well, bringing in some fixes to some of my favorite first-person shooters on the PlayStation 3. And honestly, so many of these games run so well on PS3 now that sometimes I will just de facto default to emulating them versus actually running them on my PlayStation 3. Because unfortunately, PlayStation 3 was such a specific architecture, we don't get a lot of backwards compatibility obviously in the modern era. PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 works perfectly fine, but a lot of these games, if they never left PlayStation 3, the only way to play them is real hardware or emulation. And trust me, it's one of those things. We need the emulation, especially when it comes with improvements to the overall frame rate or the actual internal rendering resolution. Something like Killzone here, absolutely one of my favorite games to play back in the day, and as I was testing this for the actual update, I was reminded it's about time to sit down and actually go through another playthrough, because I realized it's been years since I played this one, and I absolutely want to check it out one more time. It definitely is improved here in our PCS3, and even though there are still a few graphical glitches, I think it would be perfectly fine to run through this one and decide to play on emulation and not on actual real hardware. Let's move to our next soundtrack sample so you can hear the overall audio quality in something like our PCS3, because trust me, it's every bit as good sounding as real PlayStation 3 hardware. But come back because I got one more emulation update for the month of March, and it involves Outrun 2, so you know it's a winner.
Grab the bullseye off that hybrid.
As I mentioned, PSP Emulation PPSSPP saw a nice update in the month of March as well. I'll let you go through the entire video. I will leave a link in the description below. Just know that it improved the performance in Outrun 2 on PlayStation Portable Emulation. And even though we have other ways to play this game, Outrun 2 is one of my favorite games of all time, and anytime I have an excuse to talk about Outrun 2, you know damn well I'm going to take it, so that really is amazing for the month of March. Better Outrun 2 performance on PSP Emulation, that is definitely something I will take every day. And if you want to go through the PPSSPP development notes as well, just like the Dolphin notes, absolutely go through every single fix, what it does, it explains how it works, and what games that's going to benefit. And that really is very useful to not only me, but the community in general, so you can understand exactly what is improved. If I had to pick one improvement from the month of March I enjoyed more than anything else, and don't get me wrong, I love each and every one of them, seeing Shad PS4 come out with a new version, running more games and running them better would probably be my #1 emulation pick for the month of March. Leave me a comment down below and you tell me what's your favorite emulation update for this month. And don't worry, next month I'm sure we'll have a lot more emulation videos. I'm going to be keeping doing these roundups, probably at 8 p.m, because it's one of those things, they are very hard to schedule with regular news. But short of that, we're done. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.